But what about you? Like, because you're younger than me by like a few years.
Yes. Yeah. I'm very young. That's what he means. Yeah. So I'm helping him out.
Super young. Like you've uprooted everything. So is your traditional family, you don't live a traditional life at all by any means.
No, I don't.
And you took whatever tradition you had and threw out the window when you came here.
I really did.
Yeah. So where does all that lie with you now? You know what I mean?
That's a very good question. And that's something that I guess still in contention with a little bit because with my family, like majority of everyone in my family are married. Like not being married is an outlier. So I just grew up with that that's just part of the culture. Just every summer since I was young, always a wedding every summer. That was just part. Like every summer I know I have to go to a wedding or something, or some baby shower or something. That was just like, even up to this date now, there's always somebody I know that's having a baby or he's married and it's a party. That's like, was just common. So at first it was a little, I won't say heavy anxiety as some people I feel like may have, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I don't have a kid yet. I'm not married, X, Y, Z, I'm this age. Like, it was more of, I guess since growing up, I never fit the mold exactly. So just part of my life for the longest time, even up till now, I was just always different. That was just reality. So I guess maybe that was embedded in terms of not following these traditional or these cultural traditions of like, having this by this time, doing this by this time. Like I just never fit the mold for majority of things.
Yeah. Did you feel it internally or just like family pressure?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I think it's actually interesting now because a lot of people ask me about that with my family and how they view this move that I did from New York City to Berlin, doing stand-up, doing like this podcast stuff. And even with my mom, like she's just like, she's like, yeah, do it. Like she's like, yeah, do it. Like, I'm proud of you.
That's great.
Even all my other family, but I think that happened due to me also making these type of moves early on in my life. Like, for example, there was one point where I was working in Philly and I decided to quit my job. It was a good job. I quit my job to learn how to do, coding, going to a coding boot camp because I was doing film stuff.
Right.
And I wanted to learn coding as a plan B. And I was like planning to live out my car and stuff. And, my mom, I guess she just saw me survive through these weird type of decisions that I made. And then she was just like, okay, I mean, this is just him. And he survived and he's doing good. And he's like elevated, in these decisions that he's made.
So it wasn't like a midlife crisis. You weren't like in your mid 40s and you're like, I'm going to go do this. They're like, it was like younger. They're like, they knew what they're dealing with.
Yeah. And they knew that like I can take care of myself, I guess. So maybe that's a big part of it. Like,
but what about you personally? Do you still feel the draw towards like traditional stuff, or is that kind of?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. There's still some things that I would like kids, family, and stuff. Like there once, but then also the lifestyle that I have now in terms of I'm in Berlin. I'm doing comedy out here. I just got here. Doing podcasts. Like there's a lot of things that are happening that are in contentions with that.
Yeah.
But I'm still open to it. Let me just say.
Yeah.
So it's more of like I'm open to it, but I don't feel like I'm binded by that. Like, oh man, I'm breaking this bind. Like, oh my gosh, like, this is going to be an issue. It's more like I would like those things.
Yeah.
Like I'm open to it. Like, to get married, wife and kids, like that would be great. Now in what context is where now I'm kind of open and flexible with, because there's been like experiences in my life where I thought I want that. And then with me doing stand-up comedy or having these desires to move or travel contended with that traditional cultural thing.
Right.
So then it just was like a thing that I had to confront. Like, okay, like if I want to travel, I can't have kids right now. Like that's going to be.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. If you make a choice, you got to be content with that choice.
Yeah.
And know you're going to make some sacrifices.
And be okay with those sacrifices.
Yeah.
And just realizing like, hey, look, this is to your point. Like, hey, this is my life. This is what I like to do. And it is what it is. Maybe it may work out in a certain way to where those two can mesh.
Yeah.
But just being open to it. I think it's kind of how I dealt with it from an individual standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you like German women? Is that the point?
Yeah, I mean, Germany,
you're like, I'm in the hotbed now.
Yeah, Germany is a good culture. Got a lot of saunas that are, warm.
They do got a lot of saunas for sure.
Man, they really do got saunas.